Yo, what is up everyone, and welcome back to another YouTube video with your host Kenkukun, and today we got another Destiny 2 update video. Now this is just, we're going to talk about it. There's going to be a little bit of trials training in here. Nothing, it's just me talking um about concepts, I guess I would say. So it's not going to be in the trials training section. It will just be in the Destiny 2 discussion section. But we're going to break down the TWAB. Now the TWAB is and then we're gonna go read some comments on Twitter. We're gonna laugh at some people, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna laugh at them in the third part. So I'm not gonna put any timestamps here. If you've already read the TWAB and want to skip this part, just skip ahead a couple of minutes in the video. If you want to hear my takes on the TWAB, stick around. I'll try not to make this any longer than 20 minutes or so, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and dive right in there. And as always, if you want to watch me live on Twitch, there's a link in the description below. You can catch me there usually any day of the week in the afternoon. So here we go. Trials matchmaking changes. The last few weekends of Trials of Osiris have been a bit quieter in terms of changes. This was by design. We wanted to give players a few weekends of steady play before making any more significant changes or testing out another labs weekend. This gave our teams some great data for how the trials changes are doing, how players are engaging with the activity, and what we could prioritize changing in the future, right? All right, so a quick recap of stats from the last few weeks shows everything to be steady too. All right, matchmaking times are consistent with past weeks. Now, on that note, Monday and Sunday of this last week, when I played Trials, I did see some longer queue times. In the regular matchmaking pool and the freelance. I played freelance. Any games I did on Monday, I played freelance only. And here and there, I did see some longer matchmaking queues versus what normally was happening. So the split with freelance and the regular pool, splitting that player base, I did see some matches taking longer to, match up than others. Not a big fan of that. But before the freelance pool happened and before those specific days of the weekend happened, matchmaking was pretty instant. I'd queue up, I'd go to get a bottle of water or something, and by the time I left my seat, we had locked in and we were flying to the planet. So I'm like, well, whatever I'm doing needs to be quick. Blowout rates dropped slightly week over week. This is consistent with lower skilled players not playing as much. All right. And Bungie, I don't know, lower skill players not playing as much. I don't think that's Bungie's goal. Like, they want those players to play. We want those players to play. We want people to have a reason and an incentive to play. The bigger the player pool, the better off it is for everyone. And people need to wrap that concept around their tiny little heads. It's not. The question is it good for the individual? Is it good for the majority, right? It's not going to be good for everyone. Everyone's never going to be happy, but it needs to be good for the majority. We need those lower skilled players to play, and we do need incentives, which is a whole different topic. We need incentives to play, not just good matchmaking. We need reasons to go back in there weekend upon weekend upon weekend, season after season after season. And that's going to be in terms of loot, rewards, and they need to expand on that. What they're doing is not enough. They need more. All right. Average hours played per player remains consistent across skill levels. Okay. Overall player count went down each week, but that is expected during this portion of the season and is consistent with past Trials and Iron Banner performance. Yes. People keep saying, well, the numbers keep dropping, the numbers keep dropping, the numbers keep dropping. Bro, there is nothing new in Trials, and this is the longest season out of the year. This season is spanning like half a year. If there's no incentive to continue playing, the numbers will continue to drop. It's common sense. It's just common sense, right? So people that keep, jumping on this hill that the player population keeps dropping, it's not just because they made changes after weekend number 1, right? This happens with every season of Trials. Before Trials revamp, right? And long after Trials revamp, players will drop out each season. They do it in PvE. It's a natural thing in we'll say MMO games, which Destiny 2 is pretty much an MMO. It just teeters a little less into that field, which I think is a mistake on their part. They're missing out on a lot of potential here. So that's not a hill. If you're dying on that hill, you're wasting your time. We still don't see any evidence of widespread flawless card resets to avoid flawless pool. All right, now this part may be true. There are people out there that are dodging flawless pool, or there are some people out there that will, when they do get around to playing for the weekend, they want to play with people that haven't been flawless. They are looking for that easier time getting to the flawless, which is understandable. There are those people out there that are dodging flawless pool, and I would say it's probably more anyone that's doing help, live on like stream. Those are the people dodging the flawless pool. Like that's the group where the people are coming from. That's not everyone. That is the group they're coming from. Those people that are trying to do help. Because if they jump in the flawless pool, they have a tough time with who they're helping, which means, well, the person that they're helping, they're not really helping. They're trying to just, do the best they can, right? And then they themselves can't perform at the level that's needed to help others. Now, when I think helping someone, all right, from my perspective, it's I help them improve at the game. I try to critique their gameplay as we go through the cards so they actually improve. Now, I am helping you improve, so the more time you spend with me and my community, the easier it gets, the more flawless as you get, all right? Me just bringing you to the lighthouse on, no comms, just talking with stream or scratching my butt, like that's not helping you, all right? Saying good job, nice try every once in a while, sure, here's a good pat on the back. What do you want, a cookie? No, like that, to me, you're helping them, but it's like the bare minimum of helping. And then when they keep coming around and things get tougher and you haven't prepared them to meet those challenges head on, you're no longer helping them, right? Or you're struggling to help them. Sorry, you're struggling to help them. Now, not everyone wants to learn to improve at the game. I get that. They just want to get on the game, play, and have fun, right? Trials is Destiny's competitive game mode. It's the closest thing to competitive we're going to get. And with that said, well, if you come at it with a lackadaisical approach and you never want to improve at the game, you just want it to be easy for you, well, you're not probably going to go flawless often, if ever, and you may give up. And that's on you. That's your choice, right? If Bungie were to turn it into everyone launches the game, right? Everyone jumps into trials and everyone wins, there would be no reason to play. That would not be good for... Well, that would not be good for the player base. I wouldn't want to continue playing because it's the challenge of getting there. And if everyone could do it, I wouldn't want to do it. It helps aside and stream aside. I would find less interest in playing Destiny, and I would just not play it as much and play something else or just move on, right? So Trials is fundamental as much as PvP is fundamental to the game, just like PvE. Destiny needs all of those, all right? But those are where the pool is coming from. Those are the people that are dodging, are probably the people that are trying to help others. And I get it. Less than 0.5% of cards played were reset while still flawless and above 3 wins. Even still, the impetus to do this should be removed starting this week. More on that below. Now, I foreseen this. Who could have foreseen this? I called this out and I said the people that are dodging, right? If it's a big number, and I don't know what the number exactly is going to be, but if it's a big enough number, Bungie's going to force people to not be able to dodge. And I wasn't sure how they were going to do it, but lo and behold, 2 weeks later, bravo that Bungie's doing this, because I think it needed to be done to really get everyone into the system again. To find out if the system's going to work, Bungie needs the most accurate data as possible. Now, if this 0.5% wasn't going to hinder their data, then it's whatever. They're just making a decision. But I predicted that this was going to happen, something similar to this. They're going to force people to not be able to dodge the flawless pool, right? Now we look to freelance. I'm curious what they have to say on this. Last weekend, we gave players a strictly solo queue option for trials. We entered the weekend with some assumptions on how the population could split, what might happen to matchmaking times, and a few questions on how to offer freelance options in the future. I think freelance options, every once in a while would be fine, like once a season, or once every, 1 weekend out of the month or something like that. That'd be interesting, right? Again, they could have this in here all the time. They just need incentive. The freelance pool, once again, could be here at all times. They just need people to feel like there's an incentive to play, which is going to come down to the loot. So they can do all the changes they want to matchmaking, but if I'm not getting anything out of it, I don't care how good the matchmaking is. I do not care how my car doors open if I have no reason to drive anywhere. All right? Like, I don't care. They could spin open, they could lift, they could disappear, they could dissolve. I don't care, right? And then then reconstruct in front of my eyes. I would not care how I got into the vehicle and how cool it looked if there was no purpose to getting in the vehicle, right? If it didn't go anywhere, it'd be like, oh, cool, great, that's it. All right, So here's a quick recap from the team. All right, so freelance. So this past week, we opened a freelance queue so that solo players could consistently play against other groups of solos. How'd that feel? We had over 1 million games played in each playlist this weekend, with slightly more games played in the base Trials of Osiris playlist. Average hours played for the lower skilled players is up quite a bit over the past weeks, while the average to top end has almost the same hours played. So I did look at the numbers before the TWAB came out. They were very close, and I was very surprised. I was like, wow. And I dabbled in some of that. So there was plenty of people going back and forth. I'm sure everyone that launched Trials checked out the freelance playlist at least once themselves, whether they went back to it again or not. Everyone that touched Trials this weekend at least one time checked out the freelance playlist. I would almost guarantee that. Why wouldn't you? Who wouldn't want to see how it's going to play out, how good the experience is going to be, right? Or how bad it might be. Interestingly, players who played in a fire team some of the time and solo some of the time played almost 3 times as long this weekend as players who either played exclusively solo or in a fire team. My. Player numbers. And these are just the numbers. 25.5% of players went flawless, lower than any revamp week. Likely fallout of matchings being fairer. Interesting. If it doesn't drop below 20% for a weekend, the lighthouse should still feel attainable. Okay. Average matchmaking times were consistently around 50 seconds for full fire teams and solos, and regularly about 100 seconds for duos. All right, that's a minute and a half. That's almost 2 minutes. Me and Bourne had longer than 100 seconds. I'm telling you, man. He was like, bro, we just had like a 5-minute queue time. I really didn't start a clock or timer or anything like that, but we definitely had some long times there. The Sunday Flawless Pool adds about 10 seconds to flawless player matchmaking. Yep. And we are seeing some worrying spikes in matchmaking times for some of the smaller sub-pools post-flawless pool split. There we go. Yes. So they did see that, right? So this is where the incentive comes in. So they see this. Again, matchmaking, you can shine up the car all you want, but if it don't drive, it doesn't sell. The overall blowout rate. Games that ended with a 5-0 score was almost as low as our best post-revamp week, when the Flawless Pool went active Friday afternoon at 27.8%. This was powered by the significant number of fire team versus fire team matches and solo versus solo matches, both of which had 25% blowout rates. Okay. Let's see. Match outcomes this week: freelance/balanced. 5-0 games, 25 to 30 in the base. Okay. 5-4 games, 12 to 11. One thing we aren't happy with is the team balance, and we've noticed that how the solo playlist isn't doing a great job of balancing 2 teams when there aren't any fire team mismatches. For trials, it's currently just picking teams randomly. Oh, there we go. Now we know how they matchmake. Okay. I like that. This will change, but again, anything they do to matchmaking doesn't change the fact that people need a reason to jump into trials. I'm gonna hammer that point home. I apologize. We are going to be looking very carefully at how teams are selected over the next few weeks, and hopefully have a better balance the next time freelance rolls around. So they are gonna try it again. Nice. Hopefully they have more loot. Every season we need new trial stuff. That's an easy one right there. Legendary emote, something. This is one of the downsides of not using skill-based matchmaking in trials. One of the downsides is that they have more blowout matches. All right. In situations where skill would be helpful to balance two teams of solo players, it isn't even a data point the system can look at. Speaking of which, freelance futures. We like the overall outcome and vibe of the freelance queue, and both playlists seem to have a viable amount of players. We are looking at running freelance occasionally for the remainder of Season 15, but are still trying to determine what feels right. We will let you know. Okay, cool. So we're going to see it more this season, too. That's good. I think that's a very smart thing to do. And anytime, as long as the player base is there, this should be fine. I want it. Others want it. I think it's going to be good. Now, the scary part is the player-based division. And again, well, you heard me. Hammer it home. Long term, we are exploring some single playlist solutions, preferential matching of full fire teams against other full fire teams, duo plus solo against other duo plus solo. We don't have specific release target for this yet, but it will not be prior to Season 16. So, what it sounds like to me, screw this trials changes crap, bruh. Oh, Cora, I couldn't help but look. I seen you lurking, man. I'm surprised you spoke up so soon. Live on Twitch, by the way, YouTube, if you're watching. So what it sounds like is they're going to look at perhaps no freelance in the future, but just making matchmaking be, for teams versus teams more often than not, and then duos and solos versus more duo. Like they're gonna try and have those parameters meet up, right? So you will still run into a full team in trials, even if you're solo, but it will try to prioritize solo players, which again may impact queue times. But if everyone's playing in the same pool, it won't really matter as much, right? So that could be a good thing. Hold those thoughts, Cora, because I wanna ask you what you mean, or if you wanna elaborate, on that, let me know. So, flawless pool changes. The flawless pool, which we have been enabling Sunday at reset time, has some very positive benefits. It raises overall match quality, significantly, and it raises the overall win rates of solo players. I would agree with this. However, it has some drastic downsides. For players who struggle and manage to just barely go flawless, it is a steep cliff to then only play against players who have already gone flawless that week. Reasonable. It also incentivizes behavior that is at odds with the mode and reward system, like resetting a flawless 6-win ticket to keep getting easier matches, but worse rewards. It also creates social friction where players need to decide between playing with friends or playing for rewards. Lastly, the timing, 10 a.m. Pacific on Sundays, is awkward if you live anywhere but the Americas. Yeah, it does, I guess. Interesting. All right, starting tomorrow, we are rolling out a new system and leaning into weekly performance metrics. Interesting. Whenever you match in trials, in addition to trying to match with people with the same number of card wins, you will also attempt to match with people who have roughly the same number of overall wins for the weekend. That is for your team, right? That's for your team, and I'll cover this. I'll cover this in just a moment. Let me gather my thoughts. If you can't find anyone to match against, it'll eventually expand out to find you a less similar match. What are we looking at? Oh, the 20-minute mark on the. There's a lot to. Okay, cool. There's actually, this is all close to the end of the trials, and then we're gonna take a look at Twitter. So, where was I? Where was it? Right here. Whenever you match in trials, in addition, okay, so my first initial thought here, whenever you match in trials, in addition to trying to match with people with the same number of card wins, you will also attempt to match with people who have roughly the same number of overall wins. So they're removing the flawless pool, right? And they're introducing the matchmaking of just playing other players with similar wins. Now, this is the change that I've foreseen. Not this way, but this is what it is. No one can dodge the quote unquote flawless pool, right? The only way you're going to dodge this, right? And I'm going to give you guys the secret, and it's going to be the most annoying secret if anyone does this. Yeah. You're desperate, all right? You're desperate. I get it, but you're desperate, all right? Is to, before you win any match, you leave and you just sit at 0 wins. So you always you bring the average of your team's wins down, right? That's one thing you can do, right? I don't agree with doing that. I'm not saying you're horrible for doing it. It just seems like more work than it's worth. Now, another thing you can do for people that help like myself, it's going to make doing doubles easier because, well, I'm going to help 2 people out at once, and they're probably going to have less wins than someone that's constantly helping someone out on the weekend. I'm not saying that I won't play with people that are helping others, right? I'm still going to group up because that's probably still going to be an easier time, but doing doubles still gets to be viable for those that can't find a partner or just like to chill and they're that good and help out multiple people at the same time, all right? So I see doubles being a little bit easier for everyone as well. Again, if everyone in the player pool is playing, this is a good change, right? This eliminates the flawless pool, and it allows it gives people a reason, and I'm going to say it, this is what it needs to be. It gives people the illusion that flawless is attainable, right? Bungie said it. If it doesn't drop below 20%, right, then it feels attainable to the player base. And again, we need people to think they can go flawless, not just because Bungie says so and the numbers show it, because people like me and others out there are helping people, if not trying to teach them how to play better, right? And not only showing them the glimmer of hope that it's a possibility of RNG randomness, no, that it's, hey man, I have something I can build on and improve, I can go flawless, right? So with that said, so here we go. For the PvP gods who go flawless 10 times a week, they will end up matching with other players who have, for example, 70 plus wins on their cards, no matter how they got them. All right, that means if you got 1 win and reset and 1 win and reset, it don't matter, right? For the average team who gets a lucky flawless in on Friday and Saturday on their first card, well, they will be matching against other players with around 7 wins no matter how they got them, all right? And this is still, I think this is a good thing for the overall player base, right? Keeping the player base high. We want those people that, well, I went flawless once, but what's the point of continuing? Well, because it's not going to be any tougher for you, hopefully, if this works out well. We are hoping this will give us many of the benefits of the flawless pool system, somewhat fair matches, without the significant downsides. Specifically, there should be no major inflection point where everything is smooth prior to a win and then everything is overly challenging after. And they're talking about, flawless, essentially. Getting a win, and then it's like, oh, here you got 1 win for the weekend. Here's the top 20 players in the world. Good luck, Well, this allows us to remove the flawless pool. It does have a potential downside: longer matchmaking times. All right, yes, because now matchmaking has something specific they're looking for. We think there is a reasonable trade-off here between match quality and matchmaking time. Average trials matchmaking times currently sit at around 50 seconds. Over the next few weekends, we're going to be looking at how much matchmaking time goes up and how it affects the match quality. The outcomes of the previous non-lab weeks were game outcomes: overall percentage, fire team versus fire team, and all solos, 5-0 games. Overall, 28%. This is fire team versus fire team, 22%. And all solos, 27.6%. And it, and that's 5-0. They're trying to make this go down and this go up, right? They're trying to make, well, I think it's like 5-3 or 5. I think they said 5-2 you know, I think these are the balanced and these are the unbalanced ones. I believe in the prior TWABs, right? In an ideal world, we would want to get each of those numbers as close to 20% as possible, but we would rather see more 5-4, 5-3 outcomes than 5-0, 5-1. There we go. So like 5-2, they don't even care about 5-2. If you're 5-2, you're Bungie doesn't care about you. As always, we are going to be listening closely to your feedback as well as looking at aggregated stats to continue tuning matchmaking for trials to strive for the best experience possible. So for this part of the video, for the TWAB, if you want to hear my thoughts on that and you're going to jump out of the video, this one is actually going to go a little bit long. I appreciate anyone still watching the video on YouTube at this time. And let me go over to my chat real quick and see what others are saying. I'm curious what Cora is saying over there. He doesn't sound happy, right? And he is someone that does try to do helps as well. So with that said, everyone else that's tuning out of the video, thank you so much for watching. And let me actually wrap this video. We're going to do a second part video. People may not even stick around for this. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. We're going to have a part 2 coming out shortly. And I'm gonna drop it sometime in the same night that this one drops. And you can catch me where I talk to my Twitch chat and see what they have to say on it, and then we go read Twitter and laugh at people as they quake in their boots. And then I will talk about how to be ready for changes like this in Trials and in Destiny, and not everyone's gonna be able to do it, right? To the greatest extent of that others will, right? Everyone will have their limits. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Super appreciate it. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on the changes this weekend. Are you looking forward to it? Not looking forward to it? You still bitter that they changed it after week 1? And yeah, consider thumbing up the video and hitting the subscribe button. I will see you guys on the next one. Enjoy.